Hi everyone. If you saw our part 1 video, welcome to the part 2. This video we will be talking about how to assess physical activity levels. Again, we are nutrition grad students from the University of Cincinnati. So for this video, our learning objectives will be, you'll be able to assess your current fitness level. You will be able to correctly identify American Heart Association guidelines for physical activity. You should be able to develop 3 strategies for mitigating potential difficulties that may arise in order to increase confidence of success. And lastly, you'll be able to identify at least one other potential exercise partner.
Alrighty, so in terms of going to assess our physical activity levels, we're going to use a 3-minute step test. So before I get into this, if you have balance issues, please be extremely careful or do not perform this test. But the overall purpose of this test is basically a quick and easy assessment of cardiovascular fitness. So it's a lot easier than having to go out and run a mile. And the biggest thing is just remember that everyone starts somewhere. So this is just a baseline to compare yourself to in the future. And basically this test just measures how quickly your heart rate recovers after the exercise. So the quicker your heart rate recovers, the more fit you'd be. So in terms of equipment needed for this, we're going to need a step or a platform as close to 12 inches as possible. So a regular step in the house or outside is going to be close to 8 inches. Ideally, the test is supposed to be at 96 beats per minute, so a metronome would be very helpful for that. If we don't have that, we can step at just a consistent pace with either the help of a friend or by using the rhythm or lyrics of the song Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. And a stopwatch, timer, or clock will also be needed in terms of running this test. So here's a quick video demonstration basically outlining everything that I just talked about.
Hello, I'm going to be covering a 3-minute step test, which is a aerobic fitness test just to help measure heart rate following exercise. So for this test, some materials that make this test a lot easier is having a 12-inch platform such as this red one below me or the step platform next to me, a metronome or a metronome app on the phone, a timer, or a phone with a stopwatch. So to run the test, we basically have a metronome set to 96 beats per minute. So just a quick example of that, tempo would be this beat right here. So we're basically trying to match our steps to the beat. So basically when we step it up, up, down, down for 3 minutes following the beat, so it'd be looking like this. So in the event we don't have a metronome or can't find a metronome app, another easy way to help keep track of a beat would be using the song Staying Alive, just like they use for chest compressions with CPR. So we think about it, our beat would be staying alive, staying alive. So pretty much the entire test is going to go for that 3-minute period, trying to keep that same consistent beat, following that 3 minutes of stepping. What we're going to shoot to do is measure our heart rate, which we can either do with our radial pulse right by the wrist, or using our carotid pulse up in the neck.
When counting the heartbeats, remember to start at 0 and count up from there for a full minute. Using that post-exercise heart rate, we'll be able to use it in comparison to charts to help monitor our estimated aerobic fitness activity levels. So here is the chart for men based on age, and also here is the chart for women based on age. And these will also be provided in a handout for you guys. Thank you for watching, and good luck.
Okay.
Alright, so before you guys get started on your own step test, we're just going to do a quick review. So the biggest thing is making sure you gather all materials you needed. So a step, a metronome, something to track your time, and maybe a friend. So from there, we're just going to step for 3 minutes at a consistent rate. After stepping for 3 minutes, we're going to take a seat and measure our heart rate for 1 minute. And just remember to start counting from 0 and going up from there. Once you have that heart rate, we're going to use those tables referenced in the video and also provided in the handout to basically just figure out which category we're in, and then from there, congratulations, you've completed your step test and established your own baseline.
All right, so now we're going to talk about what physical activity looks like according to the American Heart Association's guidelines. According to the American Heart Association, the minimum amount of exercise or physical activity that needs to be completed per week to minimize your risk for chronic conditions is about 2.5 hours of moderate intensity activity a week. That equals about 150 minutes. So it's not too much time, but it could be difficult if you have a really busy schedule. You also have the option to complete 1 hour and 15 minutes a week of vigorous intensity physical activity. This is when your heart rate's going to get a little bit higher and you're going to feel like you're working a little bit more than that moderate intensity. You can also combine both moderate and vigorous intensity work in your daily lives as well. So 1 minute of vigorous activity equals about 2 minutes of moderate activity. So you can kind of combine those together and track your progress that way. Now, your goal should be 1 or more hours of moderate intensity activity a day, but as long as you're making that 2.5 hour, amount of activity per week, you're going to see those chronic conditions risks decrease. We should also try to include muscle strengthening activity. That has the benefits of increasing your muscle size and making you stronger, but resistance training has also been shown to reduce your risk of osteoporosis or weakening bones. Now we've provided for you some examples of different types of activity and whether or not they're moderate or vigorous, so you can kind of gauge what kind of activity you're doing. So for moderate intensity, you're going to look at something like a walk or just casually riding your bike, dancing, or just doing stuff around your house. Activity doesn't have to seem like exercise. It's just doing stuff that makes your heart rate increase. You can also take part in vigorous intensity activity, such as hiking or jogging or playing basketball or swimming or any of the other examples provided here. And then your muscle strengthening examples are any kind of body weight exercise like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, or weightlifting at the gym or having and attending a yoga class. When you start doing any kind of physical activity or exercising, you're going to want to start slowly. Otherwise, you're going to feel more of that muscle ache that everyone doesn't like to have. If you start slowly, that's the symptoms of that will decrease and it'll make you feel a lot more motivated to continue on. And it's important to remember that you don't need to exercise every single day. You can start with 1 to 2 days a week and work your way up to 3 to 4 days a week. That's okay. Work at your own pace and listen to your body. Some soreness and tightness may occur in the first couple weeks, and take rest days as needed, but over time, you'll feel better as you go on. And it's important to explore as many different options as you can. Find activities that you enjoy doing regularly, because those you'll be able to find consistency with, and you'll be able to continue over the long term.
So here we have the handout for this video. Like I mentioned in the previous one, if you watch this handout, we would have given you guys had we been in person. However, we are in video mode, so we decided to put it on our presentation. So this handout just kind of talks about the different American Heart Association guidelines for physical activity that we just went over. It also gives you different examples of exercise activities that you can do on your own. So as you can see on the left part of the handout, we see the American Heart Association guidelines, 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week, avoid sedentary activity, and increase the amount of intensity slowly over time, just so you don't go too hard into it and get injured or sore. And then again, in the right bottom corner, you see just a few different ideas of some exercise activities that you can do. So now that we have ideas of what kinds of physical activity that we can do, let's create an action plan and set some goals in order to increase those physical activity levels. So starting off, SMART goals. What are they? So SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. What does any of that mean? So for a SMART goal to be specific, you're trying to figure out in your goal, what do you want to accomplish? What is it that you want to do for this goal? For measurable, we want to be able to measure the progress that you are doing. So are you accomplishing your goal? Are you not accomplishing your goal? How are you going to accomplish it? That needs to be written in your goal. The third part, attainable. Do you have the resources necessary for success? So are you able to attain or achieve that goal that you want? For relevant, is the goal in line with my objectives? So if you're trying to increase physical activity, is your goal relevant to increasing physical activity? And then lastly, time bound. When will you complete it? Will you complete it in a month from now, a week from now, 3 months, and so on? So creating an action plan. Now that we have a goal, let's create an action plan to start achieving it. So the way we do this is first conduct a self-assessment, which you would have done if you completed the 3-minute step test activity that we had previously in this video. Next would be to create a SMART goal. So like we just mentioned, a SMART goal is a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goal. The third step is to make a commitment to either yourself or family and friends. I find it easier to make a commitment to a family or friend member so they can keep you accountable. The fourth step of creating an action plan is monitoring your progress of the goal. And then the fifth step is to attain or modify your goal if it is not working for you. So just make sure that when creating a plan and monitoring the progress allows for goals to be tracked more easily. So we'll have an example of a log where you can create your plan and be able to easily monitor on the next slide. So this chart, as you can see, is you're going to be able to use your SMART goal that you created to create an action plan and put it into this action plan log. So on the left, you can see an example of a SMART goal, which is replace 30 minutes of screen time with 30 minutes of physical activity at least 2 times this week. So on the right, you can see the action plan log. Each column is specific to a day, or each row is specific to a day. So the first column you see is the day and the date. So let's say it's December 7th and it's a Monday. Did you complete the goal? If you completed the goal, you put yes, and then describe how you were able to complete the goal or what you did in order to complete the goal. And the next day, you can see on Tuesday, was the goal completed? No. So in the describe section of this action plan log, you describe what made you not be able to complete your goal that day. So let's say you worked late, you didn't have time, so on and so forth. So now we want you to try and make your own SMART goal and action plan. So pause this video if needed and think about at least one SMART goal that you can have, and then create your own action plan using that SMART goal to increase your physical activity.
So last but not least, we're going to talk about the importance of social support in helping to attain our goals. So in general, social support just makes goals easier to achieve in general. Change is scary and usually has some negative associations. So having people to help you through that process makes it much easier to get through. Also having those people in your corner helps to keep you more accountable to your actions. In terms of physical activity specifically, fitness and exercise programs offered in community settings have actually been shown to improve physical fitness in multiple studies. Exercising with someone is also a great way to make it easier and more fun, and also helps add to that accountability factor. And also increasing motivation to go out and get physically active is another great way to help get more people involved. So from here, our last activity is we just want you to be able to think of people in your own corner. So we want you to identify at least 3 people that will support you and may be interested in exercising with you along your own physical activity journey.
Now, in this slide and the next slide, we have provided resources for you to provide that social support. Among these are local businesses and organizations that want to help you along with your fitness journey. These businesses include gyms and other organizations that increase fitness. They are affordable and some are even free. We hope you'll make use of some of these resources or continue on your own search and search for other sources of social support.
So we hope you learned a lot from this video and part 1 if you watched it. Now let's go out and get physically active.